We don't have notes. What are you talking about?
I do.
Do you really?
Yeah.
If they're not posted,
there
they
it
don't
is.
exist.
Okay, you're the Jedi counselor now, so.
Oh yeah, I can start us down that line.
Yeah.
If we want to get into
perhaps
yelling
the
about Star Wars
archives
again.
are incomplete. Well, if they're not in the archives, they don't exist. So this is
not that
name
bad.
that character.
Oh crap! Nobody cares. She shows up in the Clone Wars cartoon and gets her ass kicked a couple of times, and then she's literally only there to add depth to the universe because the cartoons do a better job than the 3 movies did. And I know we're recording. I'm totally owning this tirade.
All
but
I'm hearing is I can't name her.
Yeah, I don't remember. I know Ahsoka defends her a couple of times, and I know she's archivist. What's her face, but. I don't remember. Because where I was going to go next was like, obviously, now that the archives are incomplete, we need to go talk to Yoda so Yoda can remind us about gravitational lensing. Be like, well, see that dark spot where there's supposed to be a star? Maybe just go there, Obi-Wan. You could have figured that out. So. Okay, so welcome to the Dresden Files podcast. Since I'm talking, I guess I'm going to do the intro because where's Ben? What is going on?
Who knows?
We're a podcast of the Broken Jars Network, and we swear and spoil stuff. Is there anything else we need to talk about?
We will spoil things not only Dresden related, clearly, because we're talking about Star Wars.
Yeah, but not the new one, because I still haven't seen that. So,
yeah.
Didn't you say that the last time we did this?
I know it's becoming a meme, but yes, I still haven't seen it. So,
okay.
Yeah,
just making sure.
I know. I want desperately to hear all of your dark side rantings about I want to see drool and spittle and just everything. I'm still dodging spoilers, but
I've
here we are.
myself to it.
Mm.
Yeah,
it is quite entertaining when you get all fired up about it, though.
Dead inside.
Yeah. Which franchises have they not ruined for you at this point?
Right.
Yeah, right.
Well,
so
is Dresden still positive for you?
I'm still here, aren't I?
Yeah. Mostly, I think the fans are the ones taking a shot at it. But I think if Dresden walks in with magical Iron Man armor in peace talks, I think he's gonna throw the book and retire to the mountain.
After 5 years, if that's what happens.
Be like Ebenezer. He's like, yeah, but watch this, Haas. He's like, oh shit.
None of that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. That's a new crazy theory for you.
Yeah.
I know we've been talking about the trailer coming out, and we got a release date.
Yeah,
that's
finally,
happened.
That 3 hours after we stopped recording, that gets announced. That's fucking great.
We did cover it the next time, at least.
Yeah, I was going to mention that because even Priscilla made fun of us about it. Yeah. She's like, you guys keep seeming to miss that stuff, but it's not our fault that you wait till 3 hours after the show to announce major news. Probably because she's here watching. She's like, they didn't mention that. So,
At least we're entertaining, I guess. I don't know. I got hurt a little bit though when she was making fun of us.
I felt like we had made it. See, because if I'm making fun of you, it's camaraderie, right? So. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was like, oh, she noticed us. So,
senpai.
I
know. No.
That's where it was going.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. As to what we're covering today, since I'm sure everyone by this point knows all the news that we missed.
July 14th, 2020, just in case.
Yeah. An audiobook on the same day.
Yep.
All right, we're in Skin Game, and I believe we left off on chapter 17, if that helps anyone. Tessa and her henchmen are about to go whack Harvey, and Gray is going to impersonate Nicodemus, and then Harry went to go save Harvey.
Right.
Okay, I think we got to the point of come with me if you want to live reference. And the guy's just freaking out at his blue screen computer.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I think we skipped a little bit, but that's
Maybe.
All good.
I know that's kind of where my page note was, so I'm going off there.
No, and that works because I was looking at some of their banter, because it's fantastic between Dresden and Gray.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what do you do exactly? Anything? This week I'm opening doors. You've already opened the one labeled ass kicking. So yeah. Yeah, but come with me if you want to live. He blows up his computer and then they skedaddle.
What? What? That doesn't happen.
Right.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then cops got better things to do than get killed. So
what's that a reference to?
Big Trouble in Little China.
Not
sadly I had to look that one up because I'm like, oh shit, I know this one and I'm gonna be sad. But yeah, I had to look it up.
I have not gotten around to watching that one, so thank you for highlighting the reference.
Thanks, two of us.
Hold on, I'm gonna go get my shirt. No, I've got a Pork Chop Express shirt. You haven't seen it either. Hold on a second. It's like, what? Oh my god. Yeah, it's
There's lots
worth
of movies I haven't seen.
It's worth a rewatch, and it is fantastic. So, all right.
They are hiding, running away, and it doesn't exactly work. But they get into another building that was like a closed down retail store. So it's kind of empty and it's perfect for a fight.
Right. Which, while totally a machination for this thing, totally is a thing you can find in Chicago, by the way. There were a number of buildings that I drove past that was like, that used to be an entire school, or it used to be, something like that. And they're just all boarded up and whatever. Convenient for Dresden, though, that,
And all the nasties living in Chicago.
Right.
You can easily get like one of those little mini strip mall things that one person owns them all and they're all rentals and they all close down one by one. Until there's just like a bank left on the corner.
Right. Because, Chase Bank ain't going anywhere anytime soon. So
probably not.
All right. So they get attacked by someone, a gunman, and Dresden downs him. And Harvey's freaking out. If he just tried to kill you. No, he just tried to kill you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You're the mark.
Yeah.
He's incidental for once.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, okay, now you're in pretty good shape, Harvey. So you're a jogger by any chance? It's like, what? I swim, I do yoga. It's like, no, now you run marathons right now.
Right.
Make me believe it.
Yeah, now you're running.
Okay. Run.
Because that's one of the biggest praises you can have for the Dresden Files, I think, is Jim's humor. Like, I think it resonates with most people.
Right.
I think it's good.
Yeah, so after the running, they get into the department store place area because that's where they kind of get cornered. And then Dresden kind of like hulks out on some ghouls for a few minutes.
Yeah,
So,
I think there was some banter of like something like, okay, Dresden, if you give me the dude, then I'll let you go, shit like that.
Right. And then he's like, that's a very compelling argument as he throws Soulfire at Amariel. So
yeah, although she just said the upright hero Harry Dresden working for Nicodemus, did Lashiel finally talk you into taking up her coin? And he says, pretty sure you know that she didn't.
Right. Which it's all kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like they're still trying to play the game, and it's like that it would have worked by now or not, probably, because he already had that conversation with Nicodemus, sort of, right? So, I mean, well, didn't they do that in Small Favor? Even?
Yeah, Nicodemus bet that Lashiel Shadow was still there, tried to disable Harry, and it didn't work. And that must have been the clue that Lashiel didn't succeed.
Right.
So maybe at that point they decided to go break her out of jail, essentially.
Maybe.
But, I mean, Tessa may not have been around them ever since that split off 5 minutes before that moment.
They don't work together that often, I think it's mentioned at some point.
Right. Mm-hmm. But I mean, with whatever they do work together with, working in Small Favor like that, how much information are they actually sharing?
Well, I can't imagine Nick was too keen on letting her know, hey, I fucked up. So she might not know that at all.
As much information as needed and nothing more. So if she didn't need to know about Lash failing, probably didn't mention it.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, it seems relatively inconsequential to her, right? Like, because you would know, right? Like, if he took up the coin and he's playing for your team, you'd know that. And if he isn't, then, what's the harm in you knowing that he's not playing for your team? I don't know. So this is why I'm not
have that trump card up his sleeve.
Right. I am not a 2,000-year-old warlord, so maybe when I attain that, it'll make sense to me. But
right.
Yeah. So they kind of do battle. Dresden gets roughed up. He uses the hell out of some ice magic, which I thought was fun. A couple of things. He does a whole ice wall. He does the disco dance floor again.
Yeah, and these are ghouls, right? Like,
Yep.
not just normal thugs, but ghouls, not the big old ghouls that we see in White Knight.
And not even other Denarians, so
Mhm.
Yeah, they're not quite the super ghouls, I don't believe.
yeah. I mean, in D&D terms, I'm sure they're still quite beefy, but they're not ancient outsider ghouls or whatever. So,
Just regular one of the mill ghouls.
right?
Basically, not even worth talking about. They just
Fight.
more fighting.
Soulfire at
outside.
Mario. Blah blah
Mhm.
blah.
So where Harry pushes himself so far that he like blanks out for a second, right? And he doesn't even realize that he's pushed that far.
Right.
I thought that was later, but okay.
No,
Because he kind of passes out here, and then like he gets rescued, right? Like by
Gray.
I think even why Deidre and Gray show up.
No, only
and-
Gray.
Only Gray, not Deidre.
Only Gray.
Okay, because I thought she like attacked the ghouls, or did she run off after Tess?
She
Because they do
chases
get
after
stuck.
Tessa off screen.
Okay.
We get told that.
Okay, yeah, because I was like, no, she was definitely there in some capacity, but okay, so Gray saves him then, and then once all the dust settles, so to speak, they find out that Harvey's dead, and
Mhm.
Dresden gets after Gray about it, and then you have
Yeah.
another coded message.
Right.
I'm telling you the truth, right, Wizard? Yeah,
Gray did
sure.
the clever thing of hiding as Harvey and
Right.
seeming so unimportant because he was so scared until he just like, I'm gonna bite your face off now.
Right.
Mhm.
And then he, like, once they get out, basically, he's going to take Harvey's spot for the rest of the days to not tip
Yeah.
him off. And he's like, you can do that. You can just pretend to be a high ranking, financial person. Sure.
Why not?
It's easy enough to bullshit, especially when you're able to look like the person, just explain away that you're having a bad day because you're dead.
Right. I mean, everybody phones it in a little bit, right? Which is definitely one of the interpretations. But I'm curious, like, how much of it is he probably could just bluff that well because he's done it before and he's old, or how much knowledge comes with, the blood, because you see that a little bit later in the vault.
Yeah.
He's like, sorry, I'm a little too Harvey right now. So he does get some of his personality and information through the transformation. So
Yeah, I definitely get the impression that there is a transfer of both knowledge and personality, and
Well,
Like, more than
personality
just
and
looks.
reactions,
Yeah.
but that's different than like this customer and their background and their account number and all of those details. That's like concrete knowledge. That's different than how would Harvey react in the situation of breaking into Hades' vault.
right.
There was a word of Jim about if Gray tried to be Harry for a while, and it would be really too costly for him, considering Harry's power and his will and his how deep he would have to go to be that. He would essentially just turn into him.
Huh.
Interesting.
knowledge and everything.
At least power.
At a minimum, he would just personality-wise. But
I vaguely remember that, actually. Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
I'll drudge it up in a minute.
Interesting. Okay. And then after this, and Harvey is being replaced, Harry basically has a breakdown and finds himself at the Carpenter house.
Right.
Not that he knew he was going there, but that's what he needed.
Well, that's kind of him. Like, where's the safe place in Chicago where I can cry for a minute? Oh, yeah,
Mhm.
Michael's. So,
Yeah. And he broke his arm, but he doesn't want to go to Butters because Butters is mad at him. So Michael.
right. Yeah, we got to give Butters time off every other emergency, right? So he already went to Butters with the hotel. So the arm break Michael will handle, and then later Butters can
Pick
pick
up
up.
Butters. Butters has a job, and he has to be Batman, and
Yeah. And
Right.
he's being prickly right now. And they start drinking some beer, and Michael has the beer opener of the Thor's hammer,
Right.
which is kind of fun. And Harry starts talking and letting go.
Yeah. He has to catch him up with everything since changes. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big thing that now that Michael's been like raising his daughter.
right. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he gets some of the details right, but you know, like Harry gives him all the nitty gritty and everything. So
So they set the wrist in a way that means that he cannot move his wrist. It's like, I just know that that's going to be important. Like, my life is going to depend on moving my left wrist now that you've immobilized it.
right.
Like, how can it not at this point, man?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, left is where all the defensive magic happens, so you know,
More
somewhat
defense.
important. So, yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
I don't remember why, but I've got a note in here that it's 40 minutes by boat to Demon Reach. I don't know if I think Michael's talking about like, this is why nobody's visited you, egghead, you know? So,
Yeah, Harry was talking about like, it's only
Only
40
a
minutes
40
on a boat
minutes, yeah.
ride. People
Right.
drive further than that, go to the movies.
Right,
And so like, why haven't my friends come visited me? It's like, do you understand how creepy that island is?
right,
Of all of the bad things that happened there, the island is what scares me.
right.
Yeah, and Harry
Like,
was
remember
being
how I got machine
narcissistic.
gunned on that island? Yeah, it's not the machine gunning that keeps me away. So,
When
And
Harry's recounting everything that happened at Chichen Itza, I always thought it was interesting that he basically changes a little bit of who's at fault when he's talking to Michael. And
right,
before, he always says it's his fault. It's Harry's fault. But in this version, he says it was Martin that pushed her.
right,
He straight up does not remember what actually happened here. Either Jim forgot, or he's lying to himself, or someone changed his memory. This is a pet peeve of mine.
Mm. It is one of those things where I think people regard it as a mistake, and you know, like, we'll see how it shakes out in the end. But yeah, like I think most people I've talked to or seen, take Harry's self-blame, right, which fits his character and everything like that. But you know, at the same time, like, Martin had a whole fuck ton to do with it. So
I mean, it really was. It was Martin's plan. It was his thing from the
Mhm.
beginning. He's the one that, whatever. It's just that Harry's given himself a charitable view here, because when he clued into what Martin was doing, he's the one who pushed her over the edge by saying
right,
about it.
Harry
Yeah.
basically condoned it, finished
Martin-
it.
Martin did the double triple cross, and there's even a little bit of like hindsight where Harry's not even sure what was Martin just a double agent, or did he really want the Red Court to get brought down anyway, right? Because there's that little bit of like, you know, oh yeah, he knows that you can take out this St. Giles, but he knows that you can take out the whole Red Court, you know, and then that's when he pushes Susan, right? So
Mhm.
I don't
Oh,
know,
and he soul
but-
gazed him. He seemed to indicate that as his time as a double agent went on, he actually became changed
Like, yeah,
to it.
true to St. Giles instead of the Red Court.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Craziness, you know.
But yeah, so for once, Harry's not kicking himself, ironically, over something that is his fault.
Yeah.
Right.
Go figure.
Yeah. Though it's good for Michael to point out that Susan agreed with it as well. It's not like Harry needed to tie her down and then slash her throat. She went willingly. She just couldn't do the knife.
Yeah, she needed to die. Who cares?
Oh, geez. That little girl had a mother. All right.
Who dumped her on someone else's doorstep just as much?
Oh, boy.
Besides, she doesn't miss her. She's got a dog now.
Dogs are better than mothers.
I mean, Mouse
It
is, so.
I mean, I think EG's a pet owner, right? You have a dog.
I do.
Which one would you
And-
rather spend the day with, your dog or your mother?
Ooh.
Well,
Don't, this shit's being,
easily my mother.
I was like, this is being recorded, dude. Don't do that to yourself.
No, it's not. This dog is not my dog. This dog is just a dog that lives in the same general area as I do.
Aw, poor dog getting put down like that. It's not my dog. I don't care.
It's not my dog. I didn't sign up for a second round of dogs.
Anything
So,
else that comes out of the visit?
Yeah, he meets his daughter.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's the thing.
No, that's the trip after.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would have figured I noted it, because the next thing I have is when he goes back in and he's given the squire a load of crap. I can't.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, Harry basically explains what's happening, that he's working for Mab and for therefore Nicodemus,
Mhm.
and a little bit about the parasite. Like if it pops out of my head, it's going to go after Maggie, and
Mhm.
Michael's freaked out about it, and Harry needs help figuring out what's right.
Right.
Because we talk about it a little bit out of order, it's hard for me to catch up on my notes.
Mm.
Although something that was pointed out recently of like Michael basically asked, well, can you turn back time and, change things in the past? Well, theoretically, yes, but no. It's like that seems like a strange highlight of the eventually time traveling that we all expect is going to happen.
Maybe, but it's also Dresden, right? He's like, it's magic, right? So I'm sure I could figure it out, but no, not today. So
No, not today.
right.
A little bit in the future.
Think about him now that we've got the examples, right? Think about him from Iron Man, where it's just like, time travel is totally impossible. Hold on, give me a week. So, spoilers. How old's that movie? I think we're outside of the statute, right? Just has it been 6 months?
No. Has it? Has it really been 6 months?
All right, you look at that. So, yeah.
All right. I'd say there was that awkward
April
talking about
2019.
Molly of the Michael saying, like, you need to be a dad to your daughter and like you're important to her. And Harry is like, but how can you say that after how I handled Molly? And both of them go for that conversation
Right.
thinking completely different things.
Right. What's wrong with Molly? Nothing.
It's like, what, she lose her apartment or something?
Yeah. She's fine. Just ask her sometime, because yeah, one of those awkward, I almost outed your daughter, but in a different kind of way. So
Yeah. And Michael's like, oh yes, well that's fine. That's okay. It's like, what are you talking about? But okay, it's getting me out of the conversation.
Right.
Okay. And then I think he does just go back to the warehouse and starts needling everyone there as he can.
Yeah. Careful, the cheese is hot. Don't burn your
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so he kind of fills everybody in on what happened with the Harvey thing and where Gray is, and then they start asking about the goats, right? So
Mhm.
or did that already happen? So anyway, they start talking more about the Genesqua. So
Although he hasn't been introduced
right, okay.
quite yet. They're just kind of talking about the goats, I think.
No, that comes at the end of this, because this is all Harry's trying to get everyone to turn against Nick. He finally gets the reveal of what they're supposedly going after is the Holy
Right.
Grail.
Well, that and talking about the three gates. Nicodemus doesn't know specifics about the gates, but from what we know from Tessa, it seems unlikely that he doesn't have any idea, because as we find out later, spoilers, that Tessa's whole gambit in this is to try and save her daughter. So if Tessa fucking knows about the Gate of Blood, damn well Nicodemus should know something about it. So he may not know the exact specifics, but I think he does, right? From everything leading up to it. This isn't a Thanos moment. This is a, very well hidden ace in the hole.
It seems like he knew about the Gate of Blood at least, but he didn't know the specifics about the fire or ice.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, there's nothing to reveal that he did know about the Gate of Fire or Ice.
Sure. I mean, but at the same time, like he picked Asher, right? And so, he picked a pyromancer for a reason, and somebody who's even better at it than Dresden. And he picked, I mean, I guess maybe, he didn't know the specifics about the Gate of Ice, but he's like, who's really fucking good with ice? The Winter Knight, so or something along those lines.
Someone from Mab, Mab could have given him Leah, probably.
Right. So along those lines, but yeah, like it seems everything gels a little too well for the Gate of Blood, and then Tessa's motivations a little too much for him to not have any fucking idea. But he's not going to tell that to Dresden, because the whole point of him bringing Deidre, other than needing the sacrifice, is the fact that it has to be somebody he can completely trust, and she's apparently the only one, so.
And she had to go into it willingly, obviously.
Right.
But probably it's something that Mab let slip. It's not like the Gate of Blood hadn't been there for thousands of years.
Right.
Like the details
I-
of Fire or Ice might have changed, but like you need a sacrifice who is willing to spend the rest of eternity into the underworld to open that one gate. And this is Mab's gambit of making Nicodemus murder his daughter, just
Right.
like he took her daughter from her.
I actually, but I like the tidbit that maybe Nicodemus didn't know the specifics, but Mab leaks those to Tessa to cause even more
Hmm.
problems or something. But I don't know. That's not where you were going with that.
No, I was thinking that like
Okay.
Mab deliberately made sure that Nicodemus knew what he would have to give up.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, making it basically his choice. He murdered his daughter,
Right.
and that's her revenge. And Tessa finding out, who knows?
Right.
Well then, continuing on.
Yeah, sorry, just reading my notes through
Yeah.
here. So, yeah, like some of these are notes to myself. Some of them were dialogue that is like, okay, we could skip this. Like, I was, my note to myself was like, thank God this came out a few years before Infinity War, so we could skip all of that bullshit, So it's like, I know this isn't the first time this concept comes up in media and whatever, but the whole, sacrifice to get something you want, the ultimate sacrifice isn't laying your own life down, but having to murder your child, apparently. Yay that.
This version's better though because the sacrifice has to be complicit.
Right.
Much harder to do.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So, and then basically to like call out whatever Nicodemus is hiding, Dresden starts mouthing off like he does and basically insults the creature. So.
Yeah, and he's trying to be nice because he knows River Shoulders, and that just makes the Janosko even angrier.
Right.
It's like, what do you have against River Shoulders? I guess
Well,
because he's
it's-
nice.
Yeah, don't call a Sith a Jedi, right? Sure, they're roughly the same kind of power and whatever, but one is total brutality and the other one's peaceful tree hugging bullshit. So, I'm just thinking from his perspective. I'm not, I am not so far gone to the Sith that I espouse those beliefs. Just to clarify.
Yeah. In this meeting is when Nicodemus reveals he's going after the Holy Grail as well.
Right. Which is also bullshit. So.
Well, it's technically the truth. It's technically what they're bound to.
Right. Yes, that's where it's important. It was like, okay, so now we know what the goal is and we can fuck you on everything else, but it's really bullshit. So yeah, he screwed himself a little bit on that one. So
Yeah. I guess maybe they just didn't know that all the other artifacts would be there. I mean, like,
Well,
you know for
Nicodemus
certain.
knew.
yeah, Nicodemus had to know, or at least suspect.
Suspected,
that, you know,
yes. But
so
without
I don't know. I'm sorry to interrupt. That's got to be horseshit. Nicodemus didn't fucking take his daughter into goddamn Hades and sacrifice her on the suspicion that what he was after is there. He
No.
fucking had to know somehow.
knowledge
so,
that the Holy Grail is there is different than knowledge that all 5 artifacts are there.
Well, he does say
Maybe.
a number of Western artifacts, so he's at least cognizant of the fact that if everything's going to be down there, that's where it's going to be anyway.
Mhm.
and you'll forgive what turns out to be a pun, but where in the hell else would it be if it's not in Hades' vault? So
It's a
Also,
must
we
how-
find out much later that his real goal was the knife, not the cup anyway. So
right.
But his real goal was all of it.
I'm sure, well, it's not to say he wasn't looking to take all of them, but he specifically says, give me the knife later to Dresden.
Right.
That's the one he wants the most.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of implications about the stuff, which I'm sure we'll explore a little bit more when we get there. And people have speculated anyway, but it seems like the number and the kind of artifacts and everything is somewhat important. But for whatever reason, Nicodemus was only after the one, and yeah, the speculation there. But he's trying to feint by making sure everybody goes. They're all looking at the cup when he's like, hoo, I snuck the knife. And then, no one else is going to know the value of the other artifacts, right? So why would they grab them? Whereas Dresden's like, fuck it, take it all just in case,
Yeah. So it would have been better for Nicodemus if he leaned on the lawyery aspect of, I am after all of these things. You must give them to me to fulfill your obligation.
Right. And maybe he was worried that if he mentioned all of the artifacts, then Dresden would be like, okay, something huge is going on, because like one thing is obviously a big deal, but like 5 of them together, like for whatever reason, my brain can't get off the fact that it's like some kind of magical Voltron where it's like when you bring these 5 artifacts together, they're obviously better than individually, they're, whether it's the Power Rangers weapon where it's like we got to all hook them together. I don't know what the deal is. That's part of the speculation, but maybe that mentioning all of them would have tipped too much off. So
no, plus you put that much information out into the world, nobody as old as him ever wants to do that, even if there's a reasonable chance of success.
Right.
Well, look how that works out for him.
Well, what if some of the other, I mean, Dresden's bound to whatever, and Gray's got his reputation, but I mean, there's nothing to say the others couldn't, shouldn't, wouldn't necessarily want. I mean,
I don't know.
Even Asher's got the Denarian that he trusts the least in her.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I guess in hindsight, knowing that she's got the coin and everything like that, you could be suspicious of your own people. But like the rest of the people on the team are basically chumps compared to Dresden and Gray, right? Like, so yeah, obviously you got to worry about Dresden. Maybe you got to worry about Gray, except that he's enough supernatural that his word is airtight as much as Mab's is, which, I mean, we kind of know fairies anyway, right? But, like what, Binder's going to pull a sneaky on Nicodemus, and then in hindsight, having the Genesqua, he doesn't strike me as intelligent enough,
Well,
maybe he's gonna
fighting for Nicodemus's side.
I mean, yes, he is, but let's just assume for a moment that he's still an evil Denarian underneath it all. And even though he's a brute, like if he's got a chance to stab you in the back, he's probably going to take it. But I don't think he's like, oh man, I'm going to be some brutal warlord and those are his machinations. He's just like, if the opportunity arises, but he's not going to be like, oh man, I'd really like those 5 delicious artifacts for myself. Does that make sense? Like the level of scheming is much different. Yeah. One, he's an opportunist, and the other, he's a strategist. So knowing those 5 artifacts, he's like, and so it's a really big rock. Whereas like, yeah, that's just the way I take it. Whereas like Lashiel, absolutely. Like if she had a reason to, and she's like, maybe I could take over the Denarians or whatever, then maybe. So we don't know how much she knew about it, other than he's like, hey, how would you like to torture Dresden for a really long time? And she's like, son of a bitch, I'm in. So you're welcome.
Have you been watching Rick and Morty by any chance?
I haven't seen the new season, but I'm familiar with the memes. So yeah.
All right.
It's on Netflix now.
Importantly, the Genesqua. Were you going to go there?
Perhaps go on.
Okay, because the nail thing, somewhat important.
Yeah, that was the nail thing.
Okay, and the suppression of the mantle. And at no point did I get the impression that Dresden was actually paralyzed, or that
he was just like momentarily unconscious.
He's knocked out, so.
Well, yeah. So, yeah, like the mantle's not really doing anything for the healing, supposedly, right? And it's just suppressing his damage.
No, I think it is actually increasing the healing, even though it's still it'll take days instead of weeks to heal.
Right. Well, maybe. Okay. I mean, that could be. So what I think from my notes, one of the things that was telling was that he mentions how his fucking broken arm hurts, but not like his spine, or no feeling in his legs or anything. It's just mysteriously absent, kind of like, look over here.
Yeah.
While I'm doing the thing. And this is only one of 2 times. So
one of the questions in one of the various Q&As, I cannot remember which one. I think it was when Side Jobs came out. Someone was asking, when he gets nails or poked in cold days and he loses the mantle, he also loses the ability to walk or something. But when he gets poked in the nail, he doesn't. It's not there. It's just like you're just saying, some weird sleight of hand going on. And Jim's reaction was like, yeah, that sounds like an inconsistency. I bet it's not important at all.
Right. And that's part of why I was like, since this is coming up, I want to pay special attention this read through, so. But.
Yeah, it is. He's not trying to do anything other than after getting bashed around by the Genosqua. And so he gets poked with the nail and then he's just unconscious until Karen pulls it out.
Yeah, he gets overwhelmed by the pain and literally retreats inside to his subconscious. So, or his subconscious pulls him in because
I kind
he
of
has
thought
a nice,
something with that too.
yeah, he has a nice
Talk to
meeting,
him.
right? So,
Why couldn't his subconscious have talked to him earlier?
because he's a blockhead. It's in the words, like it says it right on the tin.
It's
No,
just that
but
He tells them
Any
he
of the
can't
times
communicate
that
the
he-
same way. That
right.
this face-to-face stuff is not something he can just do. He can only talk to him like through dreams and shit like that.
this
And
is
not
the
to,
third time he's done it.
but
Yeah, but
it's
each of the
also,
other times he's been unconscious too.
yeah,
But he's been
And-
unconscious from the headaches before as well.
and he specifically tells him that Dresden's too stubborn to even listen to his own subconscious, right? Like he tells him tells him everything that's going on, and he's like, "You freaking idiot," like just the whole time. Like even his subconscious can't stand him. So
Yeah. And he doesn't always need to talk to the thing. It's not always plot relevant.
This is the third face-to-face meeting Harry has had with his subconscious. That's
Mhm.
kind of listening to your subconscious.
this is still different though. Like, when's the last time your subconscious waylaid you in the dreamscape and
Never.
called you a blockhead? Exactly. Dresden's a wizard and B, a little thick. And doesn't this kind of feed into some other speculation, which EG can roll his eyes preemptively for, but like that this may be, like people have called this guy Mirror Mirror Harry or whatever too, right? But I think he really is like his subconscious, because all the other symbols are there, all the other clues. But yeah, like, because who else has this, right? Like, we never see any indication that anybody other than Dresden has this weird, unhealthy relationship with his id. Like
Would they
this.
reveal it?
So,
Who else's head have we been
yeah.
in?
Yeah, but I mean, you'd think Molly'd be like, so is it just a wizard thing or is it a me thing that,
Yeah, I
So-
think Molly would definitely have questions since she dives in and gets to talk with the guy herself. But like, if him being unconscious is a big clue for him to be able to talk to a subconscious, he does that several times. He falls unconscious. He's mentioned having those headaches that knock him out for at least an hour in the beginning of this book. How come he never had the conversation of like, you can't kill the parasite?
counterpoint. He totally has. He doesn't remember it because it's a fucking dream, and that's what happens sometimes. Ha!
What I think more is that it was something that Mab did until he left the island,
Sure.
just to make sure that he didn't understand what was going on.
Well, it could have easily been Alfred too. I mean, if he's warding off the parasite, then he's blocking everything up there, down there, potentially. I mean, his id is the one taking care of the parasite. So if it's trying to communicate with him and he slaps it down by association, he's probably slapping down the other stuff.
I'm not gonna follow that train of thought. There's too much going on there. So
It's a lot of
What-
weird.
yeah, right, exactly. Because I was like, I've been doing a lot of networking lately, so I'm thinking firewalls and how you get behind the one place but not deal with the other. And then I'm like, nope, that's too much. So in any case, what does happen is, he finds out about Bonea and kind of meets her, right?
Yeah,
So
although she doesn't have a name yet.
well, yeah, but I mean, we know, spoilers.
Yeah.
And also that he's pregnant and not just like, a parasite. So
But first, his subconscious is going to like, why can't you get laid? Go forth and freaking multiply.
right. But he did. He's totally had 2 kids now.
I know.
So
It's like, so in the beginning, it was just like, go have sex, please, my God. And then afterwards, like, no, that's why you don't go have casual sex.
right. Yeah. Yep.
Why not? Go
Because-
forth and freaking multiply.
Carpe
Right.
fem.
Oh, right.
Wow.
So he does actually kind of see her face too, right? And so she's kind of an amalgamation of everybody.
Mhm.
So yeah.
And it is wearing a snowflake pin on his lapel. What does that mean?
Right. Yeah. What's that
Means
about?
He had it up with Winter. He's fine with it.
Well,
Those are
yeah,
his
I mean,
instincts.
exactly. The knight is talking to, his instincts. So, which he already knows that, on the conscious.
Well, I
level,
mean, that
so-
would be where the mantle would probably flow into first, is his primal urges, right?
right.
Easiest. It's the reason he picked up the coin in the first place. It's who Lash would talk to all the time. That's the
It's-
best avenue to get through to him.
It's also Winter. Like Winter is all the killing, primal hunting, sexy time stuff.
Mhm.
Your id. So yeah. Yep.
It shouldn't be casual. It should be more than just physical attraction. There's got to be respect and affection. Okay, why haven't you banged Murphy yet?
Quiet you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fuck off.
Yep.
This is a very fun conversation.
He does need to bang Murphy, and then she'll die. Kiss of death. Dresden is
mean,
the kiss of death.
He kind of
Well,
did, and then he kind of died for it. So
No, he died. But I mean, Susan died. Elaine died.
Anastasia didn't.
Yeah, well, she lost her physical.
it depends. Yeah.
got-
I
she
mean,
got a bit-
technically, she absolutely died, and then she kind of got killed again. So
Yeah, her mind got her mind
Like-
died.
he murdered her. Maybe people should stop dating Harry because he keeps tending to murder them. So
Yeah. It's
I mean,
something
think
he
about
said
it.
all the way
He-
back in Grave Peril was I never lost anyone I didn't say I loved. And it's still true. He hasn't said he loved people since then.
Wow.
yeah, but I mean specifically, like he killed Elaine. He killed
thought.
Lucio. He killed it's not that
Susan.
just people die. Yeah, exactly. He's literally killed them. So this is why he's not getting close to Molly. You're welcome. So
Well, now we can. There's nothing he can do to her.
he's killed the Winter Lady before.
Yeah, but that was
so
on a specific day.
yeah, his birthday.
Yeah, his birthday.
Right.
She comes down for birthday sex and
So
she's
they just
dead.
Right.
Don't have to do that.
Like it's my birthday. So anyway. So is there anything else before she gets the nail out and then they have to go chase somebody?
Well, so we get to see Bonnie's face, and she's
Right.
an amalgamation of all sorts of the women that he's cared about, like Susan and
I-
what's her face in the beginning of Full Moon.
I thought there was
Him.
a little bit of Thomas in there
Delaney.
too or
Tim,
something.
yeah, Delaney.
Was
Tim
it
Delaney, yeah,
was it
that's what
just the
Um,
okay. Was it just the women?
Little, I think so.
Okay.
Only women
Molly,
in this
it
one.
was
Gotcha.
whatever.
Karen Murphy, Ivy, the
Elaine
archive,
Mallory,
Susan, Elaine, Kim,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
and she's a spirit of intellect.
Right.
But is she going to be different than Bob in how she has maybe a little bit more autonomy than he does? Like
Nope.
whoever picks up the skull gets to therefore control Bob. Is
Right.
she going to be different because her parentage?
I don't think she's going to be different there. The question to me is she going to be different than Bob in the sense that she is literally the offspring of an angel? So where he's like, oh, I can't really find the cowl, because it's holy. She's not going to have that problem because she's on that same wavelength.
Yeah.
You
I-
know?
No, someone asked
So-
Jim that question, and he basically said she could, but she really shouldn't because that would get her squished.
Right.
think.
Sure. But you
She's
can.
way
so-
too far away from playing on that level.
Yes, and it probably caused
Sure.
some awkward, uncomfortable happenings.
Yeah, like Harry's going to have to wipe out another nation state. I mean, what? Like,
I
look,
mean,
you
Harry
came after
doesn't
his
kill
physical. Yeah, you came after his physical child. Do you really think he's going to do less for her? Like, come on.
well, depending on what kind of obligations that the angels have to protect said precious artifact, maybe he's going up against good guys.
Which I mean, I've seen Supernatural. I think he'd do that too. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
Then pretty sure don't forget the dream. Don't forget how it ended. It's like, what does that mean? It's like, you fucking idiot.
yeah, right.
And then the nails pulled out, and
Yay.
he's asleep at Karen's house.
Boo.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of the other thing later then.
Yeah, it sounds like he wakes up and he basically catches Murphy and Butters talking about him when he's like not in the room,
Right.
and Butters being suspicious, and then allusion to him being Batman.
Right. And then talking about the Fomor taking children. Right.
There was that in the earlier
Yeah.
one.
Oh, this is
yeah.
where
I
he's
mean,
like-
I've got.
He didn't save all of them, and Karen said, "You saved some. That's more than what most people got
okay.
to, or something like that."
Right.
And he still feels like it's not enough.
And then they get another tip from Crazy but Not Wrong Gary. So
Boats. What is it this time?
wasn't it the Iran thing? or is that just something else? So
Oh yeah, they had a picture at some point of what's
Yeah.
going on in Iran. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, I think he
And
sends them
showing
the satellite footage or the,
Shaggy Feathers and one of the other ones in Sonya.
wasn't it Magog and Shaggy Feathers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ones that we knew should have been taken and kept safe.
Right. Yeah, interesting for a number of things because
actually that last show could be out.
Right. Well, we'll find that out later. But like, Tessa's supposed to be there, so these guys are theoretically in Tessa's crew. B, they shouldn't even be there because they should be locked away somewhere. It'd be like, we got to talk to the church about their vending machine that they call their secure vault, like for crying out loud. So, yep.
Butters and Karen are talking mostly about fear, and you probably shouldn't let that rule all of your decisions because it's just not healthy.
Right.
She prefers to have faith in her friends.
Right.
It's a choice, Butters. It's a choice.
Mm-hmm.
There might be a little bit of blinded by love coming out here, whereas like Butters is definitely the intellectual. Like he's thinking at that big brain time.
And all the patterns in his behavior, and she's choosing to have faith in him, in Harry, because it's better than being distrustful. I mean, like, of all of the history.
I'm sure it's practically her last lifeline, right? Like think about what happened between, Aftermath and Ghost Story and everything like that. She was almost militaristic, everything was about the mission and taking care of shit and everything. And now all of a sudden Harry's back and all of those feelings are still there, or at least she realizes that they're there. And, she doesn't have to go down that path anymore. So, it's, in a weird way, my brain's channeling the whole Mr. Incredible meme. It's like, I can't lose you again type of stuff, so she's going to do everything she can for Harry. And then she's probably made peace since Cold Days that, like if he's the bad guy, then I guess I'm a bad guy too, after the whole thing with the outsiders and the wild hunt and whatever.
Yeah. And things like that. But like she could go back to how she treated him before he told her what was going on in Summer Night. And she was distrustful and it hurt everything. They did not communicate well. And therefore, whenever they're trying to work together, it was an annoyance.
Right.
And so she's just going to trust him and trust that he's going to do the right thing in order to keep going.
I know he's influenced by like the Winter Mantles now and the Eggs a little bit. But I feel like Harry has earned the trust of the people close to him. He chose to be honest with them. Like I just feel like he earned their trust.
No, it's much better to spy on them and be a dick. It's much better to put everybody's life in danger. And
that's the only time Butters made a mistake. We can forgive him.
No, we can't.
It's a very important character development. All right.
Yeah.
So
it is the epitome of failing upwards,
which most people seem to do in Dresden. Like they get really annoying and then they become better, like Charity and Molly.
So him being a Jedi Knight is totally the natural evolution of
being suspicious.
That's
all right.
That's how I saw his character arc.
That's getting the Sword of Faith in an even stronger version is such a good moment, considering he had absolutely no faith in his friends. Wow,
that's why he needed to have this heart-to-heart lesson with
Karen.
But the sword...
What? That doesn't do anything!
The sword isn't about faith in friends.
They have this conversation, and he immediately does the bad thing. He takes none of this to heart.
Mm-hmm.
Butters chooses to have faith.
In what? He chooses to have faith in what? He catches a hilt. That's not having faith.
No, when he goes out to fight.
He chose to be a hero. It's not quite the same thing as having faith.
It's faith in himself.
He expected to die.
Should have died.
All right.
I won't hear no bad talk about Mr. Butters.
Well, then you're going to be in for it for the next 5 podcasts.
Right. We better blow through this content then, because oh boy, I was going to say we're going to be able to rehash this in about
Butters
2 more chapters. So
Butters is like the second or third best character.
Butters is the worst character.
Oh my goodness. All right. You're wrong. I get I get where you're coming from in some of the things, but like, okay, so the whole magical Batman thing is fucking awesome because it's just an extension of Butters doing the best with the tools that he's got available for him,
Yes.
right?
He is being clever with it, which is satisfying.
And right, exactly. And that's some of my favorite stuff too. Like Harry's got all this power, but it's not usually the power of him just like brute forcing down doors and shit that makes him win. It's when he's clever. And Butters is like even more than that because Butters has no talent whatsoever. He's got a magical battery.
If Butters actually had magic, he would be a badass wizard.
Right, but specifically because he started out with nothing. You know, it's one of those like, you know, you always had the power and, you know, I didn't types of tropes. But, you know, like, so he went to school as a medical doctor, actually kind of, you know, practices it. So he's the cleric, he's the wizard, he's the paladin, you know, come on. It's just everything. He's got everything. And he's got a freaking lightsaber, which you can hate on Butters for whatever else for his character development and shit. But that's a cool idea that nobody else has brought forth in like fantasy that I'm aware of. So if it's out there in some obscure thing that I haven't seen, like, you know.
Can't remember any lightsabers in fantasy.
I mean, you could almost make
thing called Star Wars.
What? No,
well, you know,
I'm talking about the righteousness though, because I'm like thinking like maybe you could make the argument that Aragorn's sword with the whole like the ghost thing because of what it was that it represented to them, but like other than that, you don't see anybody be like.
It was still a physical sword, you know. It wasn't the light beam sword, which is what
more like that's more like Excalibur, I would say.
Sure. But that's kind of what I'm saying, you know, like the lightsabers make sense because it's, you know, physical plasma energy and whatever. This is literally like righteousness. He's just like, hey, I whipped out the sword and I stabbed Harry and it did nothing and I stabbed the monster and he exploded. That's fantastic. The sword can literally do no harm. You know, it's like, I don't know. It's what you'd want out of a sword of the cross. So
sure.
I like the idea that because we know that Jim probably didn't originally plan this, but I like the idea of you know how through all the books he's hinted at that, you know, if people believe in something, for example the original Shroud, which wasn't the actual Shroud, it still had power. So I like the idea that, you know, just to believe people liking Star Wars or believing in that story is enough to like funnel into this sword and make it stronger.
Yeah, he wrote this book before the new movies came out.
Yeah, no, but people like Star Wars probably more before that. Like people hate Star Wars more now than
because they drove it into the ground.
Right. So in any case, like a big part of the reason why the sword is the way it is because of Butters and his, you know, love of Star Wars, I'm sure. So, but
Uriel likes Star Wars as well.
I mean, what's not to like, really? No,
like
sorry.
All
right.
I agree with you.
So, anything else? Because I was going to get to the toys. Because, like, you know, when he talks to Murphy, and then they were like, "Hey, that's a big ass rocket for, you know, a big ass Sasquatch." And
well, so she gives him a handgun that is massive, horse-sized handgun, and he's worried that's going to break his other wrist.
Yeah,
and
Desert Eagle.
Right, the recoil.
He's graduated.
Yes.
Yeah, he's graduated past Dirty Harry. He is now.
Well, no, she says Smith and Wesson 500. I don't think that's the same thing as Desert Eagle.
No,
not technically,
it's like pretty short, like small gun, right? But it's like short barrel.
But he's not trying to shoot anything long range. They're all fighting in his face anyway. But it's massive gun, huge recoil. Ride the recoil, whatever. And then he tells her that he's pregnant and she falls over laughing. And that was pretty much it until they go back to the warehouse.
Yeah, this is not what I would call a short barrel, but it's also not. Well, I guess it kind of depends. You can get a snub nose, but the first pictures are longer barrel, so it kind of depends.
Yeah, but isn't it specifically described as kind of like a short barrel in the book?
I don't know.
I remember wrong.
The director looks like she's reading, so
yeah.
But
let's see. reminded him steroid using weightlifters, gargoyles just build. It's just really big.
Right. Okay. So
Could have been mounted
and I
on a
mean,
small
he's-
armored vehicle turret.
yeah.
Maybe I just remember it being described that way because then I immediately looked it up back when I first read it,
Right.
and I got the short nose version first on Google Images or something back then.
Right. I mean, it'd be a little bit. What's is it the Peacekeeper? What's Hellboy's guns called? But something like that. But it'd
That's a
probably be a little
big-
smaller than that.
It's a
But
big one.
yeah, I mean, Harry's used a 44 mag before, so I imagine he's got the full length barrel and whatever. Unless Murphy's conscientious of him trying to hide it still. But this book has been interesting because he actually goes into the details on some of the guns instead of calling shotguns riot guns and a bunch of other stuff like he's done in the past. So
Yeah.
like they even mention, Murphy's futuristic looking Chris and stuff like that.
I
So,
bet you that's because Jim has worked with the Monster Hunter guy.
oh, that could be.
I would imagine he's probably got, you need some gun input? I've read your books. You could use some gun input. I can help you.
Right.
Because that guy goes into gun detail.
Yeah. I mean, that's his hobby. And then he just writes books fantasizing about, what he would do if he were a monster hunter, I'm sure.
Yeah. You would love those books. Jeff.
I mean, they did mention all the Uzis she was putting together for Binder's Goons, and she has a rocket launcher, not a whatever the other word is.
For an
Was there any
AT4.
other? Yeah. Were there any other guns that stood out to you so far?
Well, so I mean, he had specifically talked about the machine gun that the servitors were using, right? The AT4, the Smith & Wesson 500, the Chris, like I said, because Murphy's basically got a 45 caliber submachine gun that she's carrying around. Like most of the time when he's talking about her P90, he's just like, it's that little boxy gun, whatever. And I think there's like one or two references in the series that, led everybody to the P90 thing. So I just thought it was interesting that it's like, we've got like 4 guns and we already know what they are. I think I put together, he might have called it a 44 Magnum, but the rest of the time he references it as like Dirty Harry's gun. You have the whole Winchester thing. Everybody for the most part knows what a Winchester looks like in cold days. But other than that, like, I don't know, you get like one reference and then, like what's Kincaid's loadout? I don't think we talk about it. We know Murphy usually carries a SIG because that's her signature weapon, kind of, other than the P90. I couldn't help it. But like Kincaid goes in there and he talks about like these little, submachine gun type of guns and these double pistols. And I kind of like imagine the loadout that Neo takes into the lobby, right? Where he's just like, holy Christ, that's a lot of guns, So that's Kincaid going into the vampire thing. So anyway,
What happens when we try to backdoor a Gears and Guns episode in?
right? We gotta extend this another 6 months, man. What do you want?
We don't have to do that. There's
Yeah, we
nothing
do.
in the contract that states that.
You've got a contract,
Because you're getting paid.
right?
Is it getting paid?
Anything else? Because we are basically at the hour.
I just got a bunch of random one-liners for some of these notes. So I mean, yeah, they go back and cause more shenanigans. So
Yeah. So it's basically the beginning of chapter 25. They go back to the slaughterhouse and they're going to go into another meeting and have like a whole bunch of chaos happen. So we can just pick up again there. Any other news that we weren't talking about earlier? Or someone to just plug all of our shit?
I mean, no, I wasn't here when we started the first 2 minutes, but we actually got a release date since last episode. I assume that was mentioned.
yep.
Yes.
Yep. Ben, plug our shit. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
So what? We've got 3-4 podcasts now. So we'll skip the ones that have been on hiatus for like a year. So we've got, is DMs Anonymous recorded yet?
Nope.
No.
Not since last time. But it's not been a year. It's been like 2
I know.
months.
That's why I included it. So it's not past the statute of limitations, but I think we can avoid high fantasy,
Yeah,
so.
probably.
We got
We
a
have-
cast member missioning action at the moment.
If you like a bunch of nerds talking about nerdy things, if you guys like our style, we do have other podcasts, archived, historical, whatever. You can listen to some of that. Sim Talk is still active, I believe. So it's professional simulation stuff. Data science, I imagine, factors into it a little bit. The Office, Great Scott, they finally are done.
They very recently reached the end, and now they're going to take a little bit of break before they figure out what's next. I keep saying Simpsons.
Right, because 30 years of content.
Alex is like, if she wills it enough.
I have been saying Simpsons since they started Great Scott 3.5 years ago.
Nice. Yeah.
Because they'll never ever run out of content.
Right. Did I miss anybody? I feel like I'm missing one.
I don't think so, but we did have the end of year fun little thing. I don't care if you listen to it, but I had fun. And you can go check that out at the website. And we're talking about other podcasts we are ready to start up, hopefully. Should be ready.
Allegedly.
So we should mention Drive Through RPG, right? So they're going to have a link in the description for where all of our stuff gets posted. And then, this has been the Dresden Files Broken Jars Network podcast thingy.
If you want to see more fighting about Star Wars, you can join our Discord for $1.
True. I still got to go read it.
There's also this other book series you got to read.
Yeah, he's got a backlog. We all do.